Emergency political session tomorrow after the Ontario government invokes the notwithstanding clause in the Constitution. We'll explain how it could change the next provincial election.
It's really an attack, not only on an individual, but on the community.
And late-breaking news tonight, a CFL player suspended after an alleged homophobic attack on the Toronto Islands.
Yes.
Plus, inspiring moves in pandemic restrictions at Ontario nursing homes that may have you clinging to loved ones tonight. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. The Ford government is taking extraordinary steps tonight to block a court ruling over election financing reform, pulling provincial politicians back to Queen's Park tomorrow on an emergency basis to invoke the rarely used notwithstanding clause in the Constitution. Doug Ford says it's to protect against American-style big money political influence, but critics say it's an undemocratic abuse of power meant to silence political foes. Dale Manukduk has our top story tonight.
We're prepared to use Section 33 again in the future.
Today, Premier Doug Ford making good on that assertion from 2018 to use Section 33 of Canada's Constitution, the notwithstanding clause, to override an Ontario court ruling this week over charges to election finance law limiting third-party spending the court called unconstitutional. In a statement today, the government writes the move will protect our elections from American-style big money political influence.
We're talking about nurses and teachers, right? We're not talking about the National Rifle Association.
The Canadian Civil Liberties Association argued Ford's rule change unfairly targeted Ford's political foes like teachers' unions.
The bottom line is this extraordinary nuclear option has been invoked, and it's on an election law, which means the government is using its power to change the rules on an election to its favor.
Premier Ford's government nearly invoked the notwithstanding clause in 2018 when it moved to slash Toronto City Council in half just before a municipal election.
Once again, when an election, and in this case their own next year, doesn't seem to be going their way and a court rules against them, not only are they threatening to use the notwithstanding clause, Premier Ford is calling the legislature back to do just that.
Councillor Josh Matlow says this is just the latest example in a string of questionable decisions by the Ford government, like the move to grant police authority to card people during the stay-at-home order, which the province walked back.
I'm shocked and disgusted by this Premier's desperate plan to override the rights of Ontarians.
The leader of the official opposition says they intend to fight.
We don't know what tools we might have, how long we might be able to keep up the fight, but we will fight for every minute of every day to try to prevent this from happening.
Legislature is set to return tomorrow afternoon. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Doug Ford's government is facing more criticism tonight from Ontario doctors. More than 400 doctors have sent a letter to the Premier that criticizes his decision to keep schools closed to in-person learning this academic year, saying he is prioritizing industry over children. The doctors are calling for a peer review of the modeling that informed the decision to keep schools closed until September, a return to in-person learning for students registered for summer school, and a commitment to restore uninterrupted in-person schooling in September. The doctors say the government ignored their advice, and that school closures have caused a parallel crisis to the COVID-19 pandemic and has had a negative effect on the mental health and well-being of children. Meanwhile, people gathered in Regent Park for a candlelight vigil tonight to honor the London family killed on Sunday in what police say was a hate-motivated attack. The Muslim family of 5 was struck by a pickup truck when they were out for an evening walk. 4 of the family members were killed: a grandmother, father, mother, and a teenaged girl. A 9-year-old boy, the sole survivor. The vigil also honors the lives of 215 Indigenous children whose remains were discovered at a former residential school in Kamloops, BC last month. Toronto police are investigating what may have been a homophobic attack after a man was reportedly beaten at the ferry docks on Toronto Island on Saturday. And now the Ottawa RedBlacks have suspended defensive lineman Chris Larson over his potential involvement in the attack. In a statement tonight, the team says late last night we were made aware of social media allegations of an assault by a group of individuals that included Larson and immediately commenced an investigation which is ongoing. The statement continues, diversity and inclusion are central to our organizational values, and we will try our best to use our platform to help make acts of hate and violence, including homophobia, stop. Our Jessica Chung spoke with the victim of the attack today, and she has more on what he says unfolded.
This happened Saturday night across the water at Hanlon's Point. The victim, who was asked for privacy, is pretty shaken up and asked not to appear on camera today. He is meeting with a lawyer, and the Toronto Police Hate Crime Unit is now involved. What started as a beautiful day at the beach turned into a terrifying assault. The victim, 24-year-old David Gomez, shared his story on social media. He tells me he was with his roommate on Saturday around 11:30 at night. They were walking to the ferry to head back to the mainland when a man on a bicycle started trailing him. When they got to the ferry dock, that's when things took a turn. He says several other individuals circled them and started hurling homophobic slurs. That's when Toronto police said a woman grabbed the victim and the suspects punched and kicked him.
At this time, we are investigating it as a hate crime. Our hate crime unit is assisting 52 Division.
The victim shared these photos with CBC. He says he was taken to hospital with a broken nose, smashed in teeth, multiple lacerations, and a concussion. The attack comes at the beginning of Pride Month. In a statement, Pride Toronto says it's heartbroken by this news, and incidents like this highlight why it's important to raise awareness to homophobia, transphobia, and biphobia in our communities.
The fact that it happened at Hanlan's really is significant in some ways, because it's a place that the LGBTQ community is using to relax and spend some time there in a space that we feel should be safe for us. So it's really an attack not only on an individual but on the community.
The victim tells us he is recovering slowly, and he wants to thank the community for all the support that he has received. Jessica Chung, CBC News, Toronto.
Time now for a first look at your weather forecast with Colette Kennedy. And Colette, it was another steamy day in the GTA.
Thanks, Chris. Well, we've definitely been seeing this tropical heat around the GTA, right, in terms of just how muggy it's been. And for those who are looking for a break from it, it is coming. We are seeing the active weather that we were even dealing with again this afternoon and like yesterday afternoon moving away, and this cooler, drier air mass that is pushing in. So things become more comfortable, and not only that, we get into the clearing conditions through the overnight hours towards the morning. For that solar eclipse very early tomorrow morning, but we'll have prime conditions. And then we stick with the sunshine through the day. Could be just a few really, really light fair weather clouds into tomorrow afternoon. And then we see stuff trying to bubble up towards the southern portion of Lake Erie as we go towards Thursday. Guess what? Just some lake effect breeze stuff. It's not going to make it across the lake over those international borders. Overnight tonight, then 17. Here it is, so much more comfortable because that 24 is going to feel pretty much like that 24 degrees without the big humidex on top, Chris.
Bringing that relief. Love it. Thanks, Colette. New COVID-19 cases continue to decline in Ontario, today hitting a level not seen in more than 8 months. The province reported 411 new cases today. That is the fewest since September 25th of last year. Public Health Ontario reported a province-wide test positivity rate of 2%, the lowest since February 25th. Still, the Ministry of Health recorded 22 more COVID deaths today. As the trend of new infections continues downward, many of the pandemic restrictions lifted today at nursing homes. It means residents can see family and friends again, take day trips, and best of all, get a hug or two. Talia Ricci was there for it all.
It's all Edith Ginsburg ever really wanted throughout this pandemic, a hug.
Yes. It's a lovely day, and we're out.
Starting today, residents who have been fully vaccinated can leave their long-term care homes for day and overnight trips. Big plans are in store for Edith this week when she turns 105 years old.
We're going to go over to the Free Time Cafe for a birthday lunch, and then we're going to try to get to Winners, too.
Brief hugs are allowed now, too. Close physical contact like hand-holding is okay as long as everyone is fully vaccinated. Those who have difficulties outdoors can have one visitor at a time indoors.
It's exciting. There's a sense of normalcy, so I think it's just a really, really meaningful time.
So this next resident that we're seeing didn't have any visits scheduled for today, so I'm actually going to be the first person that she leaves the home's premises with in months. I'm excited. Should we do a brief hug?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, gee, you know how long it's been since I've had this?
Oh, how long?
Since last March. Do you want to go across to the park?
Yeah, let's go to the park.
Oh, that's going to be so exciting. I haven't been to the park since last September. When I heard the directive last Friday, I called my kids. I said that when this is all over, I'm going to have a big hugging party. Never mind a party with food and stuff. I'm going to have a party with hug.
While Devora is happy about the restrictions easing, it's been a difficult year for her. And advocates say months and months without these connections did come with a cost.
We hope that people will improve in terms of their mental and physical health, but we can't forget that there are individuals who dealt with isolation and loneliness during COVID-19, and because of their frailty, they won't bounce back in the ways that they could have.
The province is still asking that residents and visitors follow public health measures, but for now, more moments like these bring a lot of hope.
I'm just relishing this.
It's your day, so.
It's my day, yeah.
A feeling of connection more than a year in the making. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
So uplifting to see things starting to get back to normal at long-term care homes, but the situation is still very complicated at Ontario hospitals, where the backlog of healthcare procedures is now nearly 16 million. And new analysis is showing tonight clearing that backlog could take years for some procedures. Natalie Collada has those details.
Well, I have 7 bone fragments floating around in my knee, so every once in a while they jam in there and the pain is really, really bad.
Bill Kudla has been planning for knee replacement surgery for 2.5 years. Because of the pandemic, it could be next year before it's his turn.
My surgeon has told me that there's not a lot of time slots he's getting, so he was already behind 30 people when he got to me.
Kudla's surgery is one of millions of healthcare services backlogged even further because of the pandemic. Data released today from the Ontario Medical Association shows clearing the waitlist for diagnostic tests like MRIs or CT scans in the province will take months. Knee replacement surgeries will take nearly 2 years. And that's with the system working at 120% capacity.
We can't even imagine how bad this is going to be.
Mississauga dermatologist Dr. Sandra Landolt is concerned.
Their smaller problems will become bigger problems. The longer they wait, it will be a situation whereby a larger procedure will be necessary, other treatments may be necessary. It will be a lot higher burden on the healthcare system.
Last month, the Financial Accountability Office of Ontario estimated it would take 3.5 years and $1.3 billion to clear the province's surgery backlog alone. And according to the OMA, clearing the entire backlog requires more than just money.
I think the broader question perhaps to ask is how do we restructure in a way where we're actually providing value for our patients. Physicians have been innovative. They have been able to do things like organize pop-up clinics or provide healthcare through virtual offerings. That type of leadership, I think, is extremely important for the future.
And in the meantime, for Bill Kudla, the only thing he can do is wait.
The normal day-to-day routine stuff has been put aside. I can get about 2 hours a day where I can do things around the house and garden. The rest of the time I'm basically just laid up, sitting in a chair, icing.
Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
After the break, the race to get ready. We'll catch up with restaurant owners ahead of this weekend as they prepare to reopen their patios and welcome back customers. Here's some good news. The City of Toronto announced today that outdoor pools will open this Saturday. People will be able to make a reservation online for 45-minute swim sessions. A total of 10 outdoor pools will be open from Saturday at 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Labor Day. And like last summer, capacity will be limited to 25%. The city says just under 2,000 people will work to keep the pools running through the summer. Reservations can be made starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And starting Friday, you'll be able to go to stores again and have a meal on a patio. That has many restaurant owners scrambling to get set up on time. Our Greg Ross spoke with restaurant owners today who are feeling a little more hopeful that this time around they'll be able to stay open.
Restaurant owners on College Street were putting some finishing touches on their patios as they prepare to reopen on Friday, a process they've become quite familiar with since the start of the pandemic.
I think it's 3 times.
Alan Thompson and his wife Anita Mancuso own Soto, Voce, and Zito Zito restaurants. While they've been down this road before, they say there's something different about reopening this time.
Like this time, I think we're just really confident that we can open, we're going to be safe, we're outside, the science supports us.
Confidence that is only reinforced by the fact that this time around we have vaccines.
Yeah, so the vaccines, like for me personally anyway, it gives you a real sense of confidence, like almost like a superhero status.
Something else that is different are the guidelines for reopening and who is regulating them.
People can look at the provincial order, and I think it is actually quite straightforward.
Instead of municipalities setting the guidelines, as was the case in the past, the province has taken the reins, but it's still the municipalities who are responsible for enforcing them.
The provincial roadmap has very clear guidelines on 4 people per table, that there's an exception to that for extended households, so that if there's a group of 4 that's one household that's bigger, that's allowed. But otherwise, each table has to be separated by, I believe it's 2 meters in order to preserve physical distancing.
Restaurant owners who don't comply could face fines or closure.
We're moving forward with what we think is the right thing to do.
With COVID-19 case counts decreasing by the day and vaccinations on the rise, Thompson and Mancuso hope this is a process they never have to go through again.
So I think this time we're open and we're going to stay open.
Contact tracing is also going to be a big part of this reopening, so that means owners are once again going to have to get names and phone numbers of their customers, and when there is a positive case, health units across the province will be responsible for contacting anybody who may have been exposed so that anybody who needs to be isolated can be. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Just in time for patios to reopen. Another warm evening tonight as we look live at Toronto's skyline, but some relief is on the way. Let's get back to Colette Kennedy now for a look at the long-range forecast. Colette, break it all down for us.
Thanks, Chris. Well, you know, we are going to be going towards more comfortable conditions, but just to kind of give you that idea of where we've been, you know, these are normal highs and lows for this time of year. And here we were again today. Today's high, 29.4, and even our low temperature, those overnight lows, 20 and 21 degrees that we've been seeing. So in both cases, we're running around 7 degrees above seasonal. Well, we're knocking things right back towards seasonal as we head into Thursday, end of the week, into the weekend as well. Temperatures will climb a degree or 2, but really it's going to be much more comfortable. So we are seeing this new air mass that's moved in, lower dew points, and that's really what kind of makes that feel so sticky with the moisture content into the air and the air mass. So as we go into Friday, I will mention after that Sunshine Thursday, we're going to see a little bit more variability and a little more cloud cover at times in our skies. Now, it's a very slim chance we could have an isolated shower, highly isolated, really just a stray thing. I think it's primarily just going to be a bit of extra cloud cover that moves in. And even into the weekend, it looks like we're going to have fair conditions. So it's a nice one. And of course, with patios opening up, wow, it couldn't be better. Overnight tonight, these are your readings. Fog is something I want you to know about. Not just some of these stray showers or thunderstorms from earlier, but seeing some of that fog. It'll be pretty dense into tomorrow morning. That could impact things for the eclipse I mentioned earlier. And tomorrow afternoon, still a slim chance here of getting into some pop-ups. And you're noticing the temperature still close to 30 degrees, still feeling pretty humid. Windsor, Leamington through that region. Tonight, though, as we clear, we get into more comfortable readings. So look at this, 24, 25. Now it's an easterly breeze. So when you get away from the lake, Newmarket, those areas, you may spike up a little higher towards 27 or so. Looking at Friday, there it is, the extra cloud cover. Looking at the weekend, pretty nice too, isn't it, Chris?
So much more comfortable. Thanks, Colette.
This weather update is brought to you by Train. For a limited time, take advantage of 36 equal payments and 0% financing. It's hard to stop a train.
Finally for us tonight, since you're still up right now, you might be hard-pressed to catch tomorrow morning's partial solar eclipse in Toronto. CBC weather specialist Fiona Odlum tracks it out for us.
In the early hours of June 10th, sky watchers in Canada's north will be treated to a spectacular event, a ring of fire. This once-in-a-lifetime event will give viewers in Northern Ontario, Northern Quebec, and Nunavut the chance to see a full solar eclipse. As the moon passes in front of the sun, there'll be a red hue. For those outside the path of annularity, a partial solar eclipse will still be visible, but set your alarm. Across most of Canada, it'll be in progress as the sun rises. The exact timing depends on your location. Let's say you're in Toronto. The eclipse will already be in progress when the sun rises at 5:35 and will reach its maximum extent at 5:40 a.m. It'll end at 6:38 a.m. For the full eclipse in Iqaluit, it'll begin at 5:06 a.m., reach the annular state or full eclipse at 6:06:30 a.m. and will last exactly 3 minutes and end completely at 7:13 a.m. If you're in Regina or Winnipeg, you too will get to see a partial eclipse. In all cases, the eclipse will only be visible around sunrise. So if you plan on catching this rare solar event, you're going to need to wake up early and to protect those eyes.
Yeah, waking up early. No kidding, Fiona. I don't think that I'm going to be waking up around 5:30 tomorrow morning. I'm not sure about you. The only way I could do that is if I just stayed up all night. But that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow night's show is preempted by hockey, but tomorrow at 6, you can catch us right here.